wrapped around the wire armature, but I'm not so sure now. It might have been some kind of plaster or some other kind of a substance. But if anybody golfs and you see this posture, it's pretty good. You know golfers, they get twisted around in the most awkward poses, and somehow my dad managed to capture that, I think. Because I got really excited. I saw these with new eyes when I was up there, up in the attic, looking through this box. And here's a little guy practically praying to the ground, trying to hit that tiny golf ball. And he's got the pose pretty good, I think. Any golfers, I think, will enjoy having a closer look at these items. He put a number on the bottom of each, because he had a great big long list of all the things that he made, and he had a number. And I have that piece of paper somewhere. I wish I could find it. But obviously, the higher the number, the more he was progressing with what he was doing. This figure here, I think in a way represents my dad. Because my dad was a very confident man. And it just, things didn't bother him. My mother was always fussing about things. And my dad, a bit like George here. No problem.
That's it.
So here he is with a high hat on. Of course, my dad never wore anything like that. And coattails flying up the back, and he's striding with great confidence. But my very favorite carving that my dad did, and he must have liked it too, because he signed it, G. Herb Brown, with an E, September 1984, number 70. Now he would go on to do many more carvings. So I just love this figure, and I was looking at it really closely today, so when you guys come up to have a look at it, it was carved out of one block of wood. Now the base of it, maybe somebody who's a little more versed with this sort of thing might be able to say, well, the bottom is separate and somehow he's attached to the figure, or the figure to the base. But I think I carry this around with me now. It goes with me in my sewing room, in my computer room. When I'm having trouble and I'm looking out at the world thinking, oh gosh, what next? Here's this figure sitting with its hands up against its face, and I think it says a lot.
Is that your dad? Is that what your dad looked like?
No, actually my dad was quite a good looking man.
That guy's had too many cold ones.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what inspired my dad. He may have seen a picture somewhere that looked like this. It looks a bit like Rodin's Thinker, but I don't think it's quite like that, but sort of like that. So those are my dad's items, and I treasure them. Now, my father-in-law, of course, I don't know him as well. Oh, my dad was born, did I say my dad was born in 1899? I don't think I did. Okay, so yeah, he was born way back then. Now my father-in-law was younger. He was born in, I asked David today, actually, it's too bad David's not here, and David couldn't remember. He couldn't remember when his dad was born. And I said, oh, Dave, you got to remember when your dad was born. I'm going to be talking to some good people tonight, and I'd like to at least let them know when your dad was born. So David still couldn't find it. He says, I think he was 10 years younger than your dad, so he was probably born about 1908 or 19, something like that.
Oh, he was lying. It's okay.
Yeah, he said you can just make it up.
That's it.
Nobody really cares that much. I guess it's just me. But there's similarities between these two gentlemen, sort of in a way. But Bill Chambers, that was he was William Ainsley Chambers, and he had twin brothers and another brother, and he was the eldest, and he had to kind of look after them. And he spent his younger years in Brecon, living in a very, very modest sort of building. It was like a little log house. And then eventually he gravitated to Elmira, and he became purchasing. I know that's a big jump, but you don't need to know about his high schooling or all that sort of thing. But it's a big jump. But he became purchasing agent for Naugatuck Chemicals, which now we think, oh, Naugatuck Chemicals, because that has turned into something that is problematic with the environment. Of course, at that time it wasn't so obvious as it is now, that you don't just have a big pond of chemicals floating in your backyard. So, and he would come home, I know this is a bit off topic perhaps, but he would come home and in the basement, my mom had her, and my mother-in-law had her preserves, and she had cake that she made. And when I'd be eating her cake at lunch, I'd think, it tastes sort of like a chemical. But nobody said very much about it, and we didn't really think about it too much. But I am getting off topic here. My father-in-law was a man who was always busy, and he loved to make things. Now, he would never make things like this particularly, because that was not a particular interest, but he liked to make things. He and his brothers had a garage in Elmira, and it was a Chambers Brothers garage, so there again the family was involved, just like with my own dad. But they would fix, as well as serve gas to their customers, they would be fixing cars all the time. And they were all the boys were very mechanically inclined. Now, the big things that he did to make, which is just beyond me, indeed, they had aspirations to build a 3-hull sailboat. And there was just enough room in the backyard where this service station was in Elmira. So this boat had been partly made, so they spent 12 years finishing this 3-hulled sailboat. And if you could have ever been in that sailboat on Georgian Bay with these 3 sails flying, it was quite a wonderful experience. But to him, the important part of this whole thing was the making of the boat. He liked to sail, that was okay, but it was sailing in that 3-hulled sailboat, and I have many happy memories of that. Now, as if that wasn't quite enough, the garage of this modest bungalow in Elmira, where he and my mother-in-law lived, he and a friend put together an airplane. I meant to ask David what kind of a plane it was, because I think it was a plane that could land on water. It had pontoons. So he and Harold Brown, the name of the chap, he had a clothing store in Elmira. They built this plane. And David would say, "Oh, my dad's so fussy," because these little nails that fasten, I feel so primitive talking about this, but these little nails that you would put on the wings to put metal on top of that, they were spaced, exactly apart. Everything had to be just perfect, because Papa Chambers was quite a perfectionist. So another thing that he did is smaller, and it's a thing that I kind of knew about it, but I never paid a lot of attention to it. It was in a box in the attic, and I just wrote on it, Dad's shoes. That's all I put on it. Well, when I was doing stuff up in the attic, I thought, oh, I wonder what's in there. So I opened up the box and I thought, so when you guys come up to see this, I know you'll be impressed with this. You just have to be. Because I thought he sort of made these shoes all by himself, but no, he didn't do that, but he did a lot of work on them. But it was from a kit. And this was in 1930, and this was part of the bill of sale. I'll just read it to you. I think it's quite interesting. And it says, the Edward Matthews Guild, Weymouth, Mass., June the 2nd, 1939, to W.A. Chambers, Elmira, Ontario, Canada. Order will be shipped to Hartford, Connecticut. Now, Chambers had relations living in Hartford, Connecticut. And I don't know whether you know this, but it's really difficult sometimes getting stuff across the border. But if you've got a contact in the States, that your parcel can be sent to them, and then they can send it to you. So I think that's what happened here. And it says, Brown Elk Scout Frontier Oxford. Now that's what these are. That's what they are. And the leather, I've never heard of black elk. Have you? Black elk leather? And they were called a Frontier Oxford. Oh, that sounds so I don't know, pioneering or something. But they were $6.25 plus tax, but there was less 25%, not sure what that was about. There was parcel post and insurance, and the payment was received, 1939. So that's a very important little piece of paper. Now, this, when you come to examine it, is really pretty wonderful. This was made already, but, if I can read this, what does that say? No, I think it was the other sole that I left home, because there were two of them. And these were very specially made, these leather soles for this kit. And here's a template to do something to put on, it says out. This was the outsole, and then there was another one that was called the insole. So there's various metal templates. I only bought a few of them, not them all. And then there's some paper templates, and they resemble different parts of the shoe. So everything was all very clearly laid out. All you had to do was do the work. Now the work, when you come up and see this, you won't believe it. This is all hand stitched across here. And all the hand stitching, all the putting together, all the little design here, the holes, everything was done by William Chambers. And my husband, a couple of years ago, he got hold of these. I wasn't even aware of this, and he put insoles in them, rubber insoles. And he wore them for a while, and he says, oh, don't you remember, I wore those for a while. But they're a little small. These are size 10 and a half, and David's foot's a little bit bigger. But he managed to stretch them a little bit. But they're in wonderful condition. You can see the wear on the bottom. And if you look down here, you can see that they obviously were worn. And I think they're just totally awesome. Now I forget what I was going to say next. How am I going to finish what I'm saying? Maybe I probably said sufficient. But I guess maybe what I'm trying to say is we all have things in our home that we maybe should cherish more. We should look at them, find out as much as we can, make notes, and pass them on to the next generation and hope they'll keep them. I'm certainly hoping that my children will take these things. I don't care if they don't take anything else, but I hope that they'll take these in memory, because obviously they knew my dad very well, and my father-in-law as well. So, anyway, that's it.
Cool.